So this is our basic setup at home. I'll just walk you through it. This machine here is his saturation monitor. It's attached to his foot. The numbers on the left are his oxygen levels, 100% obviously being top whack. Anything below 94 is a problem. There's his heart rate on this side. I would say Vinny's normal heart rate for awake is between 80 and 110. We mainly only monitor him overnight now because we're so used to what he's like during the day. But if he's unwell, he will need 24-hour monitoring. This machine here is his cough assist machine. It has a mask and it goes on to Vinny's face. It applies a pressure to his lungs and then withdraws the pressure from his lungs, sucking out any secretions or crap that may be on his lungs. This here is his BiPAP ventilator machine. It's in air, so basically it has no oxygen running through it. It is attached to him. It puts the pressure into his lungs, keeping his lungs inflated and stopping them from collapsing. It's basically a stable airway for him. So we have 2 of these machines, so just in case one breaks down. This is his feed pump. So this again runs into Vinny's stomach where he is fed, as he is nil by mouth. At the moment he is fed continuously because he is currently getting over rhinovirus, which is a common cold. Down here we have his humidifier at the back, which is basically a chamber of water which is attached to his BiPAP machine, which keeps everything moist, stops him from drying out, which can cause mucus plugs, which are balls of phlegm, which can block off his airway and kill him. This is why we do chest physio every morning, to make sure that there are no plugs. This is a nebulizer machine. It runs into his BiPAP, and we generally run saline nebulizers to loosen up any phlegm. We can also run antibiotics if he has any form of bacterial infection. We have an oxygen canister. We don't generally use oxygen in SMA, but if Vinny was to go into respiratory distress or collapse a lung, we would need this to stop hypoxia, which is where his body will not be receiving any oxygen and it can cause brain damage. There's my whingy son. Over here in this bag, we have an ambi bag, which is a bag attached to a mask, which we hook up to oxygen, put the mask over his face, and we breathe for Vinny using a pumping squeezing action onto the bag to mimic taking breaths. We have not had to use this, and I hope I never do. This here is a stethoscope. It's what I will use when I listen to Vinny's chest. Back in the day, I used to do this daily. Now I don't need to because I'm so used to how he sounds, and I only use it if he is unwell and I'm monitoring him. And there is all our respiratory equipment. Hi, so this is Vinny's physio routine. We do this twice a day. We do it in the morning when he gets up, and we do it in the evening before he goes to bed. The bed is tilted like this in Trendelberg position. That is to drain his lungs of anything. I then attach a 60ml syringe to his feeding tube to drain his stomach and to let air come out when I am using his cough assist. So I always start with the chest pats. So I use a tapper, which I bought online. I don't think they actually do them in the UK anymore because their company stopped making them, but you can order them from the States. It's just, I find that my hand cramps up when I cup my hand, so it's just the same as cupping. So I Do around 20 seconds on each area. I will suction him just inside his mouth to remove any secretions that are in there at the moment. He's been unwell, so he's had rhinovirus, so he's got a bit more than normal. But it's all very loose and easy to clear and not really posing any problems with any. Then we silence his ventilator, take off his ventilation mask, and then we use the cough assist device. He used to hate this machine when he first had it, but now it doesn't faze him at all. Most of the time he actually sings through having the cough assist done, which he is doing right now. He has 6 coughs in a row, and then 2 big inhales at the end of the cough to reinflate his lungs. And then he goes back on his ventilator, and then I suction once again, removing anything that has been brought up by the cough assist. I mean, generally it doesn't bring up much, which is a good thing because it means that his lungs are clear and good, which is obviously what we want. I then repeat this cycle 3 times before moving sides and doing it exactly the same on that side. When Vinny is unwell, which he has been, we have been on a 4-hourly cycle of chest physio. So that means every 4 hours I will be doing this routine during the day to keep his lungs clear when he has a cold. If he needs it overnight, he will have it overnight, but I don't wake him for it. I mean, generally when Vinny has had to have chest physio through the night, he is in hospital because he is that bad. On a whole, he will sleep through with a cold, and we just need to do a nebulizer of 3% to loosen everything up before we do his chest physio. Okay, so this is me and the reality of trying to get Vinny into their flat, which is on the first floor. I have to do this at least twice a day with Cody going to school, come back from school, Vinny goes to school. I also can't do it inside the property that well because it's quite cramped with the wheelchair and the buggy downstairs, as we have no stair lift. So the best option is to do it outside, but obviously if the weather's really cold or wet, this becomes increasingly difficult. I have to start by loading everything that needs to go upstairs onto the stairs. Because Vinny is ventilated and doesn't have a safe swallow, he can't really be left for a considerable amount of time by himself, because obviously it's unsafe to do so. Currently has no form of independent movement when he's upstairs in the property because we have no stair lift. So his wheelchair can't go upstairs because it's 100 kg, because he has to sit down here. On average, I go up and down these stairs 20 times a day. And that's just loading up the buggy and unloading the buggy and Vinny. I have to be pretty quick when I'm doing it. It's not very nice to be out here in the cold. Vinny is 17 kg and over a metre tall. His ventilator is 5 kg. I also have to carry his feed pump at the same time as well as he's connected to a feed. And it's one less thing to run up and down the stairs with if I can manage it all at the same time. Right, come then, mate. Now what I tend to do is dump everything in the front room and then put Vinny on the sofa until I can come back down, get the buggy in so it's safe and out the way, and then pick up the suction as well, as I cannot carry that at the same time. Ready? Is Vinny safe? I'm gonna have to go back downstairs for the buggy. I didn't want the bloody feet. There you have it. I have to do that at least twice a day. At the bottom of the stairs you can see Vinny's wheelchair. This is the only piece of equipment that he has that gives him access to being able to move around by himself. He can only ever use this when we leave the property, as we do not have the means to get it up the stairs. As you can see, to the left and to the right there are 2 wooden slats because Luke, Vinny's dad, built a ramp to enable us to get the wheelchair down after Vinny had tried it and used it for 6 months within the property. This was really unsafe and we risked falling down with a 100 kg wheelchair and smashing to pieces something that cost us £19,000. We applied to the council 2.5 years ago to have a platform stair lift put in, provided them with a quote, and we are still awaiting this to be authorised and put in place. Now it's actually too late, as Vinny needs so many adaptations within the property to make life easier for himself and for us, that there is no point spending the £10,000 on the platform stair lift. This is my setup when Vinny is unwell. He is on the tail end of rhinovirus, so he can't really sit up too much as he has excess secretions and can get a bit choky. He is kept on his ventilator 24 hours a day apart from a wash and a bath in the beginning. It's so important for him to be kept on his ventilator because it allows him to rest and to recover. If I start removing it when he is in the peak of his illness, it can make him worse. He will end up hospitalised. And in many cases, lots of kids plug off and choke and go into respiratory failure. The setup that we have here is trying to ensure that his lungs stay clear and he stays fit and well and out of hospital. I've now moved his physio to 6 hourly instead of 4 hourly because he has been 48 hours near enough baseline. And I've started with small breaks in the morning, afternoon and night time off his ventilator to see how he is. I will only do this when he is completely clear and his secretions are baseline and his chest sounds good. Morning, I do stretches once Vinny's out of bed and off his ventilator. This is just to keep his joints supple and stop him from getting contractures, which he's got a couple of mild contractures in his foot and in his shoulder and elbow. I always start with the head. I'll just show you a basic idea of what we do. Vinny favours lying facing that way, so we always alternate which side he's lying on. Sorry, mate. Then we work on range of motion with his shoulders, making sure it doesn't get too tight. We work on his hands, because obviously we want good mobility in his hands, because he uses his hands in everything that he does, especially with his iPad. Lots of things where his palms are facing upwards, so stop him becoming tight at the elbows. He doesn't particularly like this stretch very much, but it is what it is. We work on the hips, kind of like the cat-cow technique, just to keep his movement going there. I try to get him to engage his bottom and glute raises, which he can do, and he is doing a bit more, although he can't lift his bum off the floor himself. And his legs. We do lots of stretches. Trying to work on his hips. His hip can be a bit clicky, so we just try to keep it moving. Weight bearing is the best, obviously, so he goes in his standing frame at school daily, and he has the inner walk here. Do lots of flexible movements with his feet. I try to get him to lift up. Mainly these stretches I do daily for him, but then just throughout the day he sort of does his own little thing, really. He moves his own legs. And then we stretch out his knees, which he doesn't like because they're a bit tight, but they're not too bad really. Then he will go in his gaiters. He's keep his legs straight. Laughing. I will put him on with his AFO splints as well, so then he does get a really good stretch. He will wear his AFOs all day really, apart from maybe an hour or two where I just let him lounge around. He wears his gaiters for about an hour a day to stretch out his knees if he goes in his standing frame. He also has a spinal jacket. So whenever he does any sitting up or goes in any form of equipment where he's upright or standing, he will have his spinal jacket on. In his buggy, he has a spinal jacket on. When he's lying down, I never put it on him because it's pointless. He's able to move around and do what he wants then. So Vinny goes to school. He has a full-time placement in our local special needs school. It's fantastic for physical side of things, and now we're starting to gauge what Vinny knows cognitively. He's exceptionally bright. He's just obviously a bit difficult sometimes being non-verbal, and he doesn't particularly like using communication aids like eye gaze. I think he just gets a bit annoyed with them, to be honest. He's quite expressive with his face. He can also sign when he wants to. At the moment, we are homeschooling because he has been unwell. We do think that we might have to do this during the winter months, as he seems to be picking up everything left, right and centre. Although he handles it really well, it is a setback of a couple of weeks really. So the kind of things that we do at home is we have a prop book. So we have absolutely everything you can ever imagine in this. Day trips, yes and no, all your animal signs, your shapes. So I would test Vinny on shapes and different words and all the animals, and his numbers. He pretty much knows everything in this book now. And we're trying to get him to use it for communication, but he doesn't like to. We use flashcards. So this is identifying objects that begin with a certain letter. So we have letter M. I would then ask Vinny what picture begins with the letter M. Do you know which picture begins with the letter M, Vinny? Use your hand. Tap it. Vinny's chosen moon for his picture that begins with the letter M, which is correct because you have a hat, you have a bucket, and you have a goat, I think. So yeah, we work on things like this, just seeing, because it's difficult being non-verbal, actually knowing what he knows. So we have to use techniques like this. I tend to go on like websites just to find out what the national curriculum level he should be working on for his age, which is like your numbers 1 to 20, forwards and backwards, your alphabet, your basic phonics. So we play games and learning techniques on this app. It's an American app, it's ABC Mouse. I pay a subscription, I think it's probably about £8 a month. You can play maths games, you can do reading, you work through your own learning path, doing activities. It's very repetitive, which you expect at this age. So he likes it very much. I will work through him. I normally work through him about half an hour on activities, then let him have a little rest and do what he wants, because obviously at this age their concentration levels aren't like ours, obviously. So, but he's doing okay. Then Lucy suggested that I get an abacus for him so we can do some counting. He's a bit of a joker. I ask him to count me out 7, he counts me out 8 and is adamant that he's only done 7, which I'm pretty sure he's winding me up because he just laughs. Homeschooling is pretty difficult. I don't think I'm cut out to be a teacher, but I'm doing my best obviously with it. And at the moment we're just trying to keep him safe and healthy and happy. What? Can you see your head? Where's the iPad? You alright, mate? Hello? Say don't stop moving, Vinny, move that booty, drive me crazy. Good boy. Vinny, can you move your arms? Good boy. Keep moving them, and the other one, you have 2. Good boy. Yeah, you're alright. You're okay. What are you going to watch afterwards? Do you want to watch? Where's my kiss? Well, thank you. Bum up. And in. And out. And in. Good boy. Can you bring your head back? Well, hey. Good boy. Good boy. Don't. Go on, you can do it. Yeah. Wow. One more, Vin. Swap. And then have a rest. Push. Push. Oi. Wow, look at you wiggle, Vinny. Hold your feet. It's your feet that are going to let you down because they're buckling. Good boy. Pull up, Vinny. Pull up. Pull up. All the way. Keep going. I've got your head. I've got your head. Keep pulling. Keep pulling. Well done.
Twist and turn. And twist and turn. Good boy. Can you splash mummy?
Adventures, big and small. Come on, everyone. Every day at 7 a.m.
Release your hands a little bit and tell it to be. Not completely, just in case he goes.
It stayed up for a good 5 seconds then.
Go on up.
Whoa! Yay!
Good. So this is how we make up Vinny's feed. He is tube fed. Currently he is being fed continuously, which means like a constant run, because he has been unwell and had antibiotics which makes him reflux. So we're doing what's called the simple mix of the AA diet. First up would be the near-cake. That's just enough to give him the protein that he needs, with fat under 20%. So I only give him 12 scoops of Neocate. Give a sachet of Dorora Light, which is basically like electrolytes. You would give it if a child is, or an adult is dehydrated. So we do it just to keep a balance because there's quite a lot of metabolic issues that have been discovered with SMA. This is Vinny's vitamins. And we use Ceravit, it's prescribed. Then, because I don't give him the full amount of protein from his Neocate, because that would give him too much fat content, I give him the remainder, which is about 6 grams of protein, and I give it from Essential Amino Acid Mix. Because he doesn't get the full amount of calories from his Neocate, we still have quite a lot to make up for. When he's on a simple mix, he would just get this from Polycal, which is basically very simple carbs. When he is well, he will have only about 100 to 200 calories from the Polycal, and the rest will be made up with fruit and vegetable purees. At the moment, he is on 24 scoops of this to give him enough calories to keep him going whilst he's unwell. Then I add the water into the blender. Normally I make it up to about 1,800 mils, but because he's been unwell, he's refluxing, he's not digesting as fast as he normally does. So I'm only making up to 1,600 as he's not able to tolerate full feeds at the moment. And I have to make up his fluid content with water during the day. I pour into these big bottles first, and then give it a bit of a mix, and then check it after a couple of minutes. So in the meantime, I started his medication. He's not on much medication, to be honest. He receives ranitidine. This can be given twice or 3 times a day with the maximum dose. I tend to keep track of his dose as his weight changes. Yes, at the moment 3 meals 3 times a day. He doesn't really reflux normally unless he's unwell or being on antibiotics. And this is his tummy a bit crazy. Then he has glycopyrrolate, which is a liquid that helps dry out secretions. You have to be quite careful of the amount that you give, because if you dry it out too much, you can cause plugging. So you just tend to start really slowly. We know Vinny tolerates this pretty well, to be honest. Yes, 5 mils of this slower strength than that one that we used to have. I make everything up 24 hours in advance. I just find it easier that way. Things are prepared for the day ahead, regardless of what happens. His bedtime routine is pretty much the same as anyone else. He has his teeth brushed, he has a story read to him. Then Daddy does some crazy thing with Super Dog flying through the sky. He has a kiss goodnight, and then he goes to bed with you and the sheep. He sleeps in a profile in bed, and he has a sleep system where we have inserts that we can move around to adjust to keep Vinny's body nice and straight and comfortable. What are you going to say, Vinny? Are you going to say goodnight? Say Night. And who have you got coming in tonight? You have Jill. So Vinny has 2 night nurses. They come in at 9:30 p.m. and they leave at 7 a.m. This is because Vinny is fed continuously on BiPAP. It is Brompton protocol that he is to have someone awake with him because he has no listens. And listens is where they tie the tummy to stop vomit and reflux when you are being fed. If Vinny had had this done, he would no longer have to have night nurses, but because obviously I cannot stay awake 24 hours a day, we need the help. So we've had 2 nurses come in every night for the last 3 years. We've been fortunate enough to keep those 2 nurses, and they generally sit in the kitchen and watch Vinny on a monitor as not to disturb him. Vinny will shout very loudly when he wants turning. This sometimes can be once an hour, it can be 10 times an hour, or it can be once in a night, depending on how he is. Say night. Oh, bless you. At you.